The second half of the season starts today in Atlanta. Where do the Bucks go in these final 41 games? We dig into the details and preview the matchup with the Hawks next on Locked On Bucks.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Bucks. I am Justin Garcia, joined as always by Camille Davis. We thank you for making this your first listen of the day, each and every day, for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcasting network in the industry. And for everybody that's becoming everydayer as well, which we've seen some very interesting discussions and debates in that Discord. Camille, we'll get to some of that a little bit later on today's show. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So the Bucks are in Atlanta and getting set to take on the Hawks. So number one, I've seen this as a big question that's been raised as well. It is a Peacock exclusive game.
Yep.
So that is the only way you're going to be able to view this. Similar to the playoffs in the NFL, you better run out and sign up for the free trial of Peacock if you want to see the Bucks game. Otherwise, you can listen on the radio for free to a couple of guys that I hear do a pretty good job. It's 41 games in now.
Mm-hmm.
And 17 and 24, I would venture a guess it's not where either of us expected this team was going to be. We should also clear one thing up, too. And this was a bad job caused by me. The point differential in the last two games is not a franchise record. There were some issues with the stat service that we use, which have since been cleared up. Because I even thought, too, like, I feel like they had to have had worse in the 90s, and sure enough, it was 92 when they had back-to-back 30-point losses. I think 35 and 40, but I believe this was either second or third worst point differential, and it would have been even worse if it weren't for that late three-pointer. Nonetheless, the vibes are not great right now, that you're 7 games below 500, and you have frankly not been competitive in, 3 straight games, I'm going to say, Camille, because of, it was a close game against Denver, but look at who Denver was without.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the showing you want to see. And I saw a lot of people like, hey, they got 3 days off. I would be shocked if things look the same when they take the floor. I'm not, like, this wasn't any insider information or anything, but I mean, it's just like number one. I think there has to be some type of belief that there is a relationship between the players and the coach, regardless of what you think of the job that the coach does and what takes place on the floor. There is clearly a relationship there for reasons I'll get into in a second. And there's also a couple other, factors of like, can we just keep firing coaches? Because at that point, I don't want to throw out the easy comp considering the ownership change with this group, but at that point, you become the Cleveland Browns and you become those types of organizations. But, I mean, there is a financial component to this as well of maybe things look a whole lot different this summer. And at that point, maybe we could see if we don't have to pay all of that salary that's owed to a coach. Like, as much as we don't want to hear that, and as it doesn't impact us, that is a business decision. I'm not going to say this isn't disappointing to see what they're doing, and that a part of me did wonder, okay, this is a really tough look, whether it be personnel or anything else. Do we see any other changes? A small part of me did wonder that, but I'm not shocked that you're going into this game and saying, okay, if we can just stay healthy and let's lean into these lineups, like this is the message that's coming from above.
Yeah, I mean, the big part of it for the Bucks is that if you look at the standings, 17 and 24 is not where you want to be. 11th in the East is not where you want to be. But just given where the Eastern Conference is, you really are like 2 good weeks of basketball away from being able to move up in the standings because of how close everything is. In the everydayer group, or not group chat, Lord Jesus.
Real quick.
Go
Can I
ahead.
provide some pushback to that?
Go ahead.
When was the last time we saw a good week from this team?
That's the
Let
point.
alone two.
That's the point, Justin. Like it's been the same conversation all season. Like, well, you dug a hole a bit now, but you still have opportunity. Opportunity is still there. Surprisingly enough, halfway through the season.
I mean, it's like you're a senior in high school.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything. You can see college and graduating on the horizon, and the grades just keep plummeting, and you have that teacher that pulls you aside and says, listen, just do this and I'll give you a D. I'm not going to flunk you. Like, you just do this, and it just drags on through the entire semester.
Yeah. And as a teacher, you're like, I don't understand why they won't just do this to pass this class, but that's where the Bucks are. The everydayer Discord that we have through Locked On Bucks. There was a question asked by one of the everydayers. His name was Mark, and he was just kind of like, why is the coaching thing brought up for Milwaukee when Philly and Toronto were two teams last season who underperformed and did not, fire their head coach? What's the difference between Milwaukee and those situations? And I was like, well, I think organizationally, both of those teams last season, Philly and Toronto, took a look at what was going on and said, hey, but at this point in the season, hey, we're not playing for playoffs anymore. We're playing to maintain draft capital. We're trying to do this. I was like, organizationally, a decision was made of, hey, this is how the rest of the season is going to go. And that's what we want. In Milwaukee, organizationally, they're still saying playoffs. Like they are still saying, hey, we think that we have enough talent on this team. Hey, at the trade deadline, we're not going to be sellers. We want to be buyers. That's the organizational message. So for me, when looking at the coaching situation, it's like, well, that's a lever you can pull of like, hey, we need a change right now. That's a lever you can pull. And I think the situations are a bit different than what you saw in Philly and Toronto last year. But ultimately, whoever's in the helm right now is still Doc Rivers. This team has to perform better than 17-24. Like you're on the 34 win pace for the season. Like that is not acceptable, even with the injuries that the Bucks have faced, because during those stretches, as we have pointed out, there were winnable games for this team to have. They just did not execute enough down the stretch to take those victories. So again, looking at a team where it's like something has to change going forward. And I don't think anything in the operation has been good enough consistently outside of Giannis, really, but that's not going to be enough alone.
Yeah, I mean, we tiptoed around it a couple of times already this season with the Philly comps. The big difference there is, number one, comparing Nick Nurse to Doc Rivers, they have the same amount of championships, but there is a different view in which both coaches are there's a different lens in which both coaches are viewed around the league. Number one, with Toronto, I don't know what the realistic expectations had been for that team internally the past couple of years, because that's another group that really, since the year after they won the finals, when I think they were a pretty big surprise of, okay, they lost Kawhi, like this team's going to take a clear step backwards, and they still won, 55 games or something, and lost in the second round to the Celtics, I believe. Since then, they've only made the playoffs once, and they've been... their high point was, I think they had another year where they were in the mid 40s in wins. Otherwise, they've been a losing team. And Rajakovic brought in to kind of help grow some young players and some of the moves that they made. And even last year with the trade for Brandon Ingram, where you knew you're bringing in a guy that isn't going to play, this is all for next season. So I think it was kind of viewed as like, okay, like just keep developing these young guys, but next year's where we're looking for the results. And then with Philly too, not just the coaching comparison. I mean, last year, number one, like the Joel Embiid status and situation is a discussion in itself, but that pick that they had was top 8 protected. So like they had to make a move of, okay, it's time to pack it in and tank this, that I think everybody, to your point, was aligned organizationally with where they go forward here. So, we talked about the expectations not being met so far for this group. It's perplexing when you look at some of the things that stand out for this Bucks team. So we'll get into some of those numbers, the good and the bad statistically that we've seen from this Bucks team, coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Bucks. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. From 6 to 7:30 Eastern, it's become appointment viewing with that happy hour. You open the FanDuel app, and it always brings something new, boosts, bonuses, and surprises. It's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before that window closes, adding extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sports book partner of the NBA. And Camille, you mentioned the Discord that we've seen. That question brought up a few other questions as well. Everything we don't get to on the show, it's basically an overflow on that Discord. To access it, you just have to sign up for the Everydayer Club, which you can find the link to sign up for that access in today's episode description of the show. Again, ad-free episodes of Locked On Bucks, whatever podcast server it is you're using, Apple, Spotify, you name it, and that Discord server that you get access to see some of those discussions that are taking place and some of the overflow in these episodes as well. So statistically, there's a couple of things that stand out about this team to me. I don't know if there's one thing that you would point to and say, because we got to be honest, this is a bad team by the numbers. Yeah. If there's one thing for you to do to say, why are the Bucks bad right now? What would it be? Is there one thing?
Like the main cause as to why they're bad?
Yeah, like, hey, the Bucks are 17-24. They're a bad team. Why?
Oh boy. Because they haven't been good enough offensively or defensively. Like they've been bad on both sides of the ball. Like there have been some consistent through lines we've seen throughout the season of how they play in regards to fouling too much on defense, putting their opponent on the free throw line too much. And then the flip side is that they don't tend to get to the free throw line as often. So just trying to get those free points. That's one way you could go. Turnovers. It's another way to go. When they started the season off with the 4-1, everything was feeling great. And you're like, man, this could be a pretty good team. They were top 8 offensively in turnovers, meaning they were, I think, the 8th best team in making sure they took care of the ball. They're now at 18th. Like they have not been taking care of the ball enough. And defensively, if you look at just past Bucks numbers of like how many turnovers do the Bucks face or force, normally the Bucks have been like bottom 3, bottom 5 in the league with that. So like when you see them at 22, it's like there's some progress in regards to the Bucks, but it's not enough to offset what we've been seeing. They haven't rebounded well enough defensively. Just watching it, like taking away just the numbers and you watch it defensively, point of attack defense hasn't been consistently good enough for this team. And when they get put into scramble situations, a lot of time there are still guys who aren't getting out to the closeout in enough time. It's just not a clean operation defensively. Offensively, the scheme boils down to me as we're just trying to drive and kick and create, kind of like a free flowing offense. And they only have so many guys on the roster who are skilled in doing that said thing. So it's just been a mix of like, they haven't been good enough on either side of the ball for many reasons is what I normally would go to, which isn't just one thing. Like it's a lot of different things happening at one time.
Okay. I asked you to do that on the fly and just went into detail and put in a lot of thought of this, and this. I'm going to make it even simpler. The last thing that you said, they have 6 players that fit what they're trying to do. That's it. You know, like it's right there. We can point to the Giannis on-off numbers. I believe he's still number 1 past Nikola Jokic. We know it's been well documented the non-Giannis minutes have been an outright disaster for this team. And even if you're making progress and getting better, your best version has still been very bad when he's off the floor. So the non-Giannis minutes have been tough, and you got just 6 guys that fit what you're trying to do, to be connected and play the style that the Bucks are looking to play. Always touchy for me to single out who these guys are, but who would you guess? Who would you say if I told you, Emil, I'm not going to use the word good, but you have 6 guys that fit what you're doing here? Who would those 6 be?
Giannis for sure. That's the engine
that
of it all,
4, basically. But
right. He's the one. And then when I think about the drive and kick guys, it's Rollins, it's Kevin Porter Jr., and it's Kuz, ironically enough. Those are the other 3 guys who are like, hey, if you want someone to kind of drive and kick, put pressure on the rim, see what they can do, those are your 3 other guys outside of Giannis who can do that for you. I would also include AJ Green, much to the chagrin, I know, of a lot of people, everydayers on the show. The shooting ability of AJ Green, it's just a skill set you need, and it pairs very well with the idea of you're driving and kicking, and if nothing's at the rim, you're trying to get the 3. So that's a guy you want taking the shot. And the 6th guy, I'm going to say Miles Turner. I'm not sure if that's the way.
The fact that it was an internal debate for you is kind of surprising.
I had to just, for me, it's Miles Turner, who I would say, I know raw numbers, there are some people who are disappointed with what we've seen from him so far this season, but when he's on the floor with Giannis, it just looks a lot better. And I still go back to saying, I think part of the underperformance of Miles Turner, if you want to say, part of it, not all of it, but part of it is I don't think he's been put in the best positions to succeed. So those are the 6 guys I would go with: Giannis, Rollins, Porter Jr., Kuz, AJ Green, and Miles Turner.
Yeah, I mean, Miles Turner, we had very, I think, realistic expectations for him coming in. Realistically, what is his scoring average going to be, and what can you expect from him? The numbers, the counting stats have still been below what I anticipated. Like it's been Miles basically pre-Tyrese Halliburton, which was one of the things that came up a lot of, okay, how much did that pick and roll partner in Tyrese Halliburton benefit some of Miles' play? And does he have that guy on this roster with the Bucks? And again, the usage is a component to it. Like, seen a lot of Miles Turner sitting in the corner, and I don't remember seeing a whole lot of that in Indy. But I mean, those 6 names that you rattled, those are exactly it. Those are the 6 guys that fit what the Bucks are doing, and it's not even close what they're trying to do. There is no close number 7. It's it. Those are the guys that have made sense for this team. And I think the most perplexing parts to all of this, I say that, but then also we talked about the non-Giannis minutes being a disaster, and of your 15 guys, only 6 really make sense for how you're playing. Having said all that, your preferred starters, well, I suppose what we're seeing as the preferred starters, although maybe do we have to reconsider that for reasons we'll get into in a second. But the preferred starting 5 that we've seen used consistently now for the last, 2 weeks or so, longer than that, I believe, is Ryan Rollins, Kevin Porter Jr., AJ Green, Giannis, and Miles Turner. That group has played about 400 possessions together, and they are a plus 13 in net rating when they're on the floor. A 123 offensive rating, which is more than 10 points per 100 possessions better than what we're consistently seeing from this group. A 109.5 defensive rating, which would be excellent for this squad. With those guys on the floor, they've been really good. But the problem is, as much as we can talk about the non-Giannis minutes, it's not just Giannis. It's when you don't have that cohesive group of, well, this guy makes up for this, and this guy can do that, and this guy, as you pointed to, can fill the role of drawn kick. It just becomes a jumbled mess, and that's where the numbers really plummet. So that group is plus 13 in nearly 400 possessions together. The best lineup that they have, and if we look at teams with a minimum of 100 possessions lineups, this is the second best lineup in the league. Ryan Rollins, AJ Green, Giannis, Miles Turner, and Kyle Kuzma. They've played 150 possessions together, and that's a plus 43 net rating with that group. With a really solid defense, Even though I've been led to believe AJ Green's a total disaster defensively, and a 144 offensive rating, 130, 50, possessions, not a huge sample size, but it's not nothing, right? It's okay. Let's see this. I don't expect if that group was your starters and played the majority of the season
that
together.
would hold, yeah,
they're not going to be a plus 43, but they've been really good. So you have these things that you can point to. The problem is you also have two players individually that you can point to. As much as we love one of them and say, "Whoa, this is pretty rough," or some of these lineups with this player on the floor or this player and this player is where it really massively tails off just individually. Anything that doesn't include basically that four-man group where Kyle Kuzma and Kevin Porter Jr. are basically interchangeable. Anything outside of those four has been a disaster for this team.
That doesn't surprise me. And to the AJ Green point, I think with AJ in particular, part of the reason for the defensive lapses, which we've talked about, is that he's being tasked a lot to defend other threes. AJ Green is a shooting guard. Really, he's a 6'4" shooting guard. Defensively, he's not Drew Holiday. He's not Eric Bledsoe or any of those guards that we've seen in the past where it's like point of attack, really strong. He's a guy who, coming into the league, I did not think that he could do much of anything outside of shooting the three. And he's shown like, hey, I'm a bit better defensively than you thought. Like he's not a super plus defender, but he's not a super negative defender when he's put in the right position. I don't think so. I think he's been guarding out of position a lot this season, which hasn't done him any favors. And on top of that, like those groupings, right, that you mentioned, the Kyle Kuzma inclusion in that lineup is the part when I initially saw, was like, that's so interesting, because a lot of the conversation was like, hey, it's tough to play Kuz and Giannis on the court together because of the spacing. So how you utilize them is going to be very, very important. And I think it was the group play cup game against the Hornets when you saw Kuz and Giannis out there starting together. But the way they utilized Kuz in that game was fantastic. So many like short rolls, cuts, dunker spot, just not having him sit in a corner. And I think, again, that's the key when you're playing those Kuzma Giannis lineups too, is where it can't be just corner sitter Kuz. Like he has to be active at the same time.
Okay. There's a couple other of these lineups and numbers I want to share coming up after this. We do also have to take a look ahead to today, as we're recording and releasing this. Easy for me to say Monday morning. So we're hours away from the game in Atlanta against the Hawks. We'll preview that matchup as well coming up next on Locked On Bucks. During basketball season, there's nothing like being in the building. The energy, the crowd, that first big run, getting everyone on their feet. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what tickets are really going to cost you. That's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets, fast, simple, and without the guesswork. Browsing the Game Time app is straightforward and intuitive. Finding tickets takes you just a few taps. You can see the view from your seat before you make those purchases. And prices include fees up front, so the total is clear from the start. They also have features like zone deals, helping you unlock great seats at an even better value. So whether it's an NBA game or another live event, everything is right there in one place. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. No better time than now to use that Game Time app as well, Camille. There's a lot of home games that are coming up for this team, but very difficult opponents on the horizon here, which we'll get to in a moment. But here's a couple other things. And again, I'm not doing this to single out players, but it's just to illustrate this is how much it's extremes with this team. It's really good, or it's, oh boy, this is not sustainable at all. Like you can't go forward like this. So we mentioned, hey, those two lineups have been excellent for the Bucks. The two guys that have not been the plus minus starlings, who would you guess those names are?
I know one for sure has to be Gary Trent Jr. It just has not been.
By the numbers, it's been one of the worst in the league for
Yeah,
Gary.
just not his year. But who would the other guy be? Plus, minus. Is it someone like? Is it Bobby?
No, it's not someone like Bobby. It is, in
Is
fact,
it Bobby? Yeah.
Bobby Portis. Yeah.
Like, it has to be a bench guy like Bobby.
So with the interesting part about this is it's almost identical in terms of possessions, with and without. So in those, not the greatest way, but I think that if anything, this just illustrates, look, these two cannot play together. With Bobby and Gary Trent Jr. on the floor together, and this is just under 900 possessions, minus 15.4 net rating. An offensive, what would you guess would be better, the offensive rating or defensive rating? Or I wouldn't say better. Which one has struggled the least, the offense or the defense?
Offensive rating was like, normally when you ask those questions, like, this is a trick question because I feel like offense is the obvious answer here.
I mean, it's pretty equal. The offense is 108.6, which is far worse than not far, but still, that's like that is this day and age of offense. That is incredibly bad. 124 defensive rating. So they've been bad on both ends with those two on the floor, and a minus 15.4. So I mentioned that was around 900 possessions, 895 possessions that you've had with both Bobby Portis and Gary Trent Jr. off the floor. So it was a minus 15.4 with them on. What do you think the net rating is with those players off the floor?
Let's go plus 9.
Plus 14 point. It's basically a 30-point swing per 100 possessions with on and off the floor. And again, it's not to single out those two guys. Gary Trent has had a very tough season so far. Bobby, you know what you're getting offensively. The challenges have always been, and especially, the last 2 weeks, he's really given you things that you frankly need to keep the ball moving, to keep the scoreboard moving. The issues have always been on the other end of the floor, but the challenge to all of this is it stands out the most with those two guys. It's not immune to those two guys of, Jericho Sims, another guy, as much as his numbers or him as a player is beloved in this fan base, Jericho Sims' numbers have been rough for this group. And again, it's not just, it's because of how you're using it. Like, you can't tell me, it's just because of this, and then tell me, AJ Green's numbers are only good because he plays with Giannis. Like, again, it's just patently false. If that were the case and AJ Green's plus minus is only good because you play him a lot with Giannis, number one, explain those, 15 games that Giannis missed. And secondly, then why isn't every single player in the starting five for the Denver Nuggets in the top 5 for plus minus as well? So you just have a number of these guys that you pull up and you say, negative, negative by a wide margin with these guys on the floor. It's not just, haven't really been good. It's, oh boy, minus 15, minus, I think Jericho Sims, last I checked, minus 19 or minus 20 in those minutes that he was on the floor. Gary Trent Jr., I believe, is even worse than that in the minus, close to it, in the minus teens. Like, you just have a number of these guys, and it keeps coming back to, you got 6 guys you feel confident in saying, we feel like we're going to hold our own defensively and we're going to be able to score.
Yeah, and that's about it. And that's not enough. That's not enough. And going into the season, we thought that depth would be a strength for this team, especially in comparison to past years. I think that's the caveat. Not just like, hey, they're going to be one of the best in the league, but based on what you've had the last 2 years prior to this season, you should have more playable depth than you had the last 2 years. And it hasn't necessarily shaken out that way for this Bucks team. The Taurean Prince injury does hurt a lot, which I guess
honestly, how much are we understating that too?
Yeah, because he was like the only wing with playable.
How much did he hold together? Yeah.
So one could ask, well, hey, if not having Taurean Prince could tank you that much, then what was the depth like to
Is there a
begin
bigger
with?
reevaluation that needs to take
Exactly.
place?
It's a very fair question. But again, you miss having somebody who is 6'7", 6'8", who can play on the wing and you feel comfortable
knock down
about them doing,
shots. Yeah.
and knock down shots too. So that's what they need. Again, we've had the conversations over names that are associated with the Bucks through trade rumors, and I'm like, none of these guys seem to really fit what I think is the Bucks' biggest missing need right now, which is that playable wing size. So the depth just hasn't been good enough for this team. And going forward, if this year is eventually used as, I'm not calling it a gap year, I've been saying retool, because you're trying to figure out a new style of play around Giannis. If that's what this year is, and you're saying, well, this is all that we really have in playable guys in this rotation, you know where you need to continue to add to going forward.
Yeah, and like just looking through some of these other numbers and trying to see, okay, what about this guy and this guy? It dawns on you, that last one of those points that you made too, of like, wow, there really isn't as much depth as we thought coming into the season, or at least the guys haven't played to the level that you expected. Now at this point too, you're halfway through the season, not a whole lot's going right. You know, you lose this game, you will be 8 games below 500 for the first time since the 16-17 season, I believe, the year after Jason Kidd's first year when they went 41-41. So, I mean, that's the bright spot too, is if you keep plummeting, any of these ones that you look at and say, boy, when was the last time there were 10 games? When was the last time there were 12 games below 500? It's all that season. So you don't have to go further. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about 10 years since you've seen this type of play from this group. And, you know, at this point, we've shown, hey, the numbers with this guy haven't been good. This lineup hasn't been good. Is it time to just say, you know what, screw it? Why not? Let's Amir Coffey, what do you got for 10 minutes? Let's see if this works this time. Andre Jackson Jr., I understand the shortcomings on that end. Let's see if this moves the needle. Cole Anthony, right? A guy that we haven't mentioned. We have eyes. I know it was pretty brutal towards the end there, but you're 17-24. Like, let's see if it's not going to be brutal this time.
Yeah, and on top of that, like, which game was it where the schedule lost, the tired legs? Was that the Minnesota game when Doc said that? Like, oh, I knew we were going to have
when he said that, or when it actually was? Yes, that was the Minnesota game.
Because again, what I said after that was like, okay, he was asked about depth, and he said maybe we should have went deeper in the bench. Maybe next game we will do that, and it did not happen. Like at this point,
they did play everyone in that next game.
Yeah, when it didn't count,
not
and
by design.
Yeah, and the garbage time unit outscored. Anyways, the point is, at least see what they can do at this point. Like if guys aren't playing the right way, or they need to be pulled to prove a point, put some of those guys in. It doesn't have to be a 25-minute Andre Jackson Jr. stint, but just see what the game is giving you and if he can help in that way, because him and Amir Coffey are really your only other two big wings next to Kuz, and Kuz already in the rotation. So like, what do you have to lose at this point?
Bucks in Atlanta, Bucks and the Hawks today. Now you are tied in the loss column with the Hawks. You both have 24 losses. Atlanta kind of under the radar, almost as disappointing as the Bucks for where the expectations were coming into the season. I think the big difference is you look at that group and you say, well, still got a bright future with, Keil Alexander-Walker around, with what Jalen Johnson has ascended to, and some flexibility probably coming up, or an expiring contract to flip yet in Kristaps Porzingis. So we still got some paths forward here. It's the unknown that surrounds the Bucks. Now, here's the interesting thing is, it's not just all Trae Young, and I'm sure Trae Young is observing what's going on since this trade and saying, like, I thought I was the problem.
Yeah.
They've lost 3 straight games, and more than that, I mean, since December 1st, the Bucks are 8-12, not great. Do you know what the Hawks record is since December 1st?
If Bucks are 8-12, I'm gonna guess the Hawks are probably like 10-10.
They're
like
7-16 since December 1st. And these two teams are almost identical in offensive and defensive rating. The Hawks are a -4.7 in net. The Bucks are a -4.5. Hawks still playing at one of the fastest, and it is the fastest pace in the league since 12-1. The Bucks are, where they've been all season. They're, I think, the 6th slowest, but that pace has gotten even slower in recent games here. They're, since December 1st, they're a 97 pace that they're playing at, and Atlanta's just under 105. So it's going to be contrasting styles today, and it's frankly going to be two desperate teams. As we mentioned, Atlanta with 3 straight losses. Hopefully it's 4. And a schedule that starts to pick up for them as well. They got an interesting one with Memphis. Phoenix continues to play hot on the road in Boston. Miami on the road. So they've got some challenges out there, but nothing like what we see from the Bucks. And again, we joke about, well, one of these shows we're just going to have to actually paint the clown makeup on our face in real time. We've said quite a bit, the schedule this week, this is going to be very important. We're here again with another one of those weeks, Camille, as you got 3 home games after this. But it's the Thunder, the Nuggets, and the Mavericks. Then you have 3 straight on the road in Philly, in D.C. against the Wizards, who I saw look like a complete joke over the weekend, but they look like the opposite of that every time they play the Bucks. And then in Boston against the Celtics, it isn't until the first week of February that you would look at it and say, okay, we get a bit of an extended break where you have the Bulls, Pelicans, and Pacers. But as we've noted, the Bucks have struggled just as much against those types of teams as they have the good ones. So, you got that, and then 2 games in Orlando and a game in Oklahoma City to round out the first half pre-All-Star break schedule. So, look, the reality is, if you do lose this game today against Atlanta, you are 8 games below 500 with, albeit home games, but your next 6 games, Thunder, Nuggets, Sixers, Celtics, in your 6 games. So you're looking at the reality of, boy, by the time we do return home after this homestand, we realistically may be 12 games below 500.
Yeah, with the way that they've played so far this season. Again, the Bucks have not won 3 games in a row all year so far. So it could be real tough sledding for this team, but we've said it a few times throughout the season of hey, this is an important week of basketball for the Bucks because this and this and this can happen. You're at another point, another conjuncture in the season where you are at a very important part. How are you going to respond to this? Because All-Star break is less than a month away. The trade deadline's less than a month away. 3 weeks out from this point at this part? This can be a time in the year where before All-Star break, teams kind of lull. But again, with where the Bucks are, they cannot have these games of indifference. Every game has to feel like it's the next biggest game going because they have a hole to dig themselves out of. And yes, it'd be nice to get out the lottery into the play-in, but this was a team I thought could be playoffs, to come into the year. So there is work to be done, and you can't keep making that work more difficult by losing consistently. So they got to turn it around if this team is going to have a shot to do so at all. We need to start seeing it this week.
I'm assuming, if we just went with what I'm assuming, applying wins to where the Bucks are going to be favored and losses to where they're not going to be favored going forward, if we did that, you would be 22-32 at the All-Star break. And at that point, 22-32 is 54 games. You're 2/3 of the way through the season. At that point, it becomes a much, much different conversation. So I think, look, I'm not going to overstate it. It's obviously an important game and an important week. I mean, this game, the Bulls game, any of those games like Miami that you have coming up, those teams that are directly in front of you, the Magic you would throw in there, those are the most important games that you have remaining now because it basically counts for 2 in the standings. So, what you do here, not only to climb in the standings, but to see where is this team sitting the morning of, February 5th, obviously, but that week, the first week of February, where are you at? Where you can say, look, we know the expectations are not championship for this team, but we found something in the way that we're playing, and we like the way things are moving here. if we add this piece, we think we can get out of the first round and then build on that. But if you're 22-32, or if you're 20-30, whenever it is, by the trade deadline, I just don't know that you can find that justification if you're the Bucks. We did not get to. We'll save it for our next episode. Did you see Rajon Rondo on Kevin Garnett's podcast?
Oh yes. Oh yes. He had some interesting comments.
There's some interesting things, yes, which we did not get to. So we'll get to that either on our next show or the one after that, as we are going to have a recap of this game in Atlanta. And I believe we're going to have that out this afternoon with a noon tip-off. So you're going to get 2 episodes today, potentially 3 too, depending on Frank's schedule. So we'll recap the Hawks game and get into some of what Rajon Rondo had to say. There was one huge takeaway I had from it, Camille, and it doesn't really change how I felt previously. So we'll just put that out there as a tease for that discussion. But thanks again to everyone for tuning in to this show each and every day, making it your first listen of the day. A reminder to get in on the Everydayer Club. You can get access to that Discord that we referenced earlier. You get ad-free episodes of this show as well. You can find the link to sign up for the Everydayer Club in the show notes of today's episode. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you get your second listen, NBA Game Nights on Locked On NBA. We'll talk to you again later today following the Bucks-Hawks game. For Camille, I'm Justin. We'll talk once again on Locked On Bucks.